You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
It is 6:08 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and you're on Small Biz Florida with Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that is all things business across the Treasure Coast and the entire state of Florida. Small Biz Florida is brought to you by the Florida Small Business Development Center Network and is produced by the Florida SBDC right here at Indian River State College. Small Biz Florida is designed and produced to highlight and promote business assistance resources, celebrate entrepreneurial success, present best practices, and most importantly, provide timely business information for Florida's and the Treasure Coast small business owners and operators. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. And as I always like to tell people, I too have the scars of business, small business ownership. I never went through anything this bad. Few hurricanes, the recession of '08, but this is pretty tough on small business owners, what we're going through now.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it's pretty tough.
I never would have noticed.
You're living it every day, Greg.
Oh, boy, yep.
So obviously the mission for us here is certainly we've been focused on a pretty clear mission the last number of months is make sure business owners are aware of all the business assistance programs and support available to them out there across the Treasure Coast. And tonight is kind of a big show. We were actually busy enough to probably not do a show, but we need to do a show tonight because we've got an awful lot of information to get out.
New information.
Yes, to the small business community. Every county across the Treasure Coast. This past week, Okeechobee, I think, was the first in our region, but all the remaining counties have all launched small business grant programs utilizing and deploying their CARES Act funds to help small businesses. So some really innovative programs, helpful programs brought to you by your county government. So it really is, they're great programs, and I can't say enough about our county leadership and the innovativeness that's going on within the counties to get this money out into the hands of small business owners and operators when they need it the most. The Florida SBDC is providing support. The programs vary in eligibility and terms and processes across the county, as does the SBDC's role in supporting those programs. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But it's just important to know that if you are a small business owner, you need to definitely, whatever county you're in, Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, or Okeechobee, you need to make sure that you are aware of what's going on in your county in terms of the small business grant programs.
And honk if you see Tom and his new wheels.
Right. We'll talk a little bit about the.
That is so cool.
We've got the Florida SBDC networks, what we call the MAC, MAC. It stands for Mobile Assistance Center.
So it's an office on wheels.
It is a complete office on wheels.
Cool.
I got it all in there.
Nice.
So there's everything in there but a kegerator, I think.
We can arrange that. We can call ProTech. They probably got one. Oh.
But we are an office on wheels, and the whole purpose of having that down here in the region, and we'll talk about that again a little later, but we want to make sure that we're out in the field, and if we need to help folks. I literally helped a business today with uploading their application for the St. Lucie County grant program. So that's why we're here. I mean, we want to make sure that if you qualify and if you're eligible, we're here to help you with that grant application. And we're here to support the counties and do whatever we can do to make sure that the neediest businesses get their hands on this grant money. It's good stuff, and want to make sure that everybody knows about it. So kind of our dedication tonight is to talk about these grant programs, make sure that everybody knows how to find them, where they are on the internet, all that good stuff. And we have with us a representative from St. Lucie County. Very pleased to have them with us tonight. And as we move forward over the course of probably next week, we will talk to everyone from every county about their particular grant program. Last week we talked to Helene Castletine about Indian River counties. So we had before that, well, we had Megan on same night from Okeechobee County. So we're making sure that we're getting the people that know about these grant programs, we're getting the information out there. And again, you can always call us at the Florida SBDC. Just call our basic number. It's 772-336-6285, or you can email us at fsbdc@irsc.edu. And you can just start there, and we'll be happy to connect you wherever you need to be connected to get engaged and look at these grants. So anyway, we have with us tonight our good friend, good collaborator, good partner, John Titkanich. And John serves with St. Lucie County Administration. He is the Innovation and Performance Division Director. John joined the St. Lucie County team in April, just in time to be.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, I think he missed a he must have missed a meeting, and and he was put in charge.
Oh my goodness!
So John, listen, John, I've been on 100 Zoom calls so far. If Bill calls another Zoom call, goodness gracious, I couldn't make the one today at 4 o'clock. So. So anyway, but I think John and I have been on at least a half a dozen to a dozen Zoom calls. But John has done a great job, just incredible job, very detail oriented. John is making sure that we are dotting I's and crossing T's, and that we're doing this thing the right way, and that it's going to be available to the most needy small businesses around St. Lucie County. So John, we appreciate your work. We're glad you got here in April. So John currently serves as the mission area lead overseeing economic recovery programs as part of the county's CARES Act. John worked for the city of Cocoa, great place, for more than 18 years, serving as its economic development manager, community development director, and city manager for the last 7 years. During his tenure with the city of Cocoa, economic development, community redevelopment were his principal focus. And Cocoa's done a great job. It was a great city. When I first got involved in Main Street, it was kind of the show place for Florida. Everybody went to Cocoa Village. If you wanted to know how to do it, you went to Cocoa to see it. So great work up there. John holds a master's degree in public administration and a graduate certificate in urban and regional planning from UCF. Go Knights.
Charge on.
And Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Florida Atlantic University. Prior to joining the city of Cocoa, John served as a planner in land development and economic development coordinator for the city of Orlando. So, John, happy to have you in St. Lucie County. You come with a lot of great experience, and you came at the right time to kind of lead this project and this mission, and it is an important one. So why don't I kind of went over your background a little bit, but kind of maybe did I miss any, fill in the gaps of kind of your pathway to St. Lucie County?
Pathway, I actually know the county administrator, and when I saw the position available, my family and I, we talked about it and reached out, submitted an application, and here I am. I mean, I think it's the St. Lucie County team, it's a really dynamic, progressive, forward-thinking, organization, and the administration is truly desirous of moving the county forward in a positive and constructive manner. And so that was the attraction.
Yeah.
And I've not regretted it. And I do look forward to when the commute's a little bit less, when we get our house done, and it won't be so far, but otherwise it's...
Nice. Well, John, obviously when I look at your background and I read your background, you've been in Florida a long time. I mean,
Since the 70s.
You've seen, we've had some disasters before. I mean, we've had certainly hurricanes. We've had some crazy hurricanes, especially since '04. We had them come to us out of the west. Charlie hit and came across, or who knew Orlando would ever be damaged by a hurricane, but Charlie caused damage in Orlando. We've had them certainly hit us on the East Coast. We've had them, grazing blows. We've had direct hits. I mean,
Come right up the middle.
Yeah, that's right. Irma,
Bisect
right up
the
the
state.
middle, right? So, we've had all kinds of things. I mean, I just don't. This is something really unparalleled, unprecedented. To actually cause businesses to close for multiple months. I mean, this has really been a devastating blow to a lot of businesses. I think when you look at it from an SBDC perspective, I think, again, all the things that we try to teach and preach about being prepared, having cash flow, having reserves, I think people may pay a little more attention when we have those kind of classes now, because that's really, I'm afraid this kind of unparalleled disaster really brought out, unfortunately, some weaknesses in some businesses, and again, not necessarily their fault. They just weren't prepared for this. But kind of just give us your perspective. You've been in economic development for a long time. I mean, where have we ever been in this situation before?
I mean, like you said, I mean, it goes beyond, in my lifetime, the Great Recession and the various hurricanes. It's just been a significant impact to the local business community, especially small businesses. I mean, I recall not too long before leaving Cocoa, we put on business preparedness classes and talked about resiliency.
Right.
Whoever thought about a pandemic? I mean, when I got to
I mean,
St.
our
Lucie,
biggest issue was cyber. We were getting all hot on cybersecurity.
Oh,
yes,
that was the hot issue.
Last
you
few years,
right.
you bet.
So I mean, there were. I can tell you when I got on board and I got the opportunity to work with a great team, and we worked on putting together a COVID-19 pandemic specific disaster recovery plan. There's no playbook or script out there of what to write. I mean, I think we're still learning some of the things and some of the impacts that our community is experiencing. So, I mean, from both the small business community as well as our families and individuals within the community. So, the way this event affects every strata of our community, it's just it's substantial, and so whatever we can do to try to accelerate and recover, the county is committed to working to do that. And I will say, we're working with the EDC early on when we wrote that disaster recovery plan. They participated and brought on consultants and community stakeholders together, and we had an economic recovery plan as part of our disaster recovery plan. And I think that laid a solid foundation to get a good start as once we were notified that we were going to receive some CARES funding.
Right. Well, that's a good segue. Talk to us a little bit about, and I know you may not be the expert. I don't know that any of us are the experts. It's been so ever changing each day. But talk to us a little bit about the actual origins of these dollars. The CARES Act dollars. What is your understanding how all this worked and how it has now flowed down to the counties?
So in the original, the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, for all those communities that had a population of more than $500,000, they got a direct appropriation from the U.S. Department of Treasury. And so that left out 55 counties.
Well, so say that again. So counties that had population of more than 500,000, they got the money first.
Correct.
Okay.
Or they got the money,
okay.
and then the state got money. And then I think through the efforts of municipalities, chambers, counties, they lobbied and they talked with the governor, and ultimately the governor and through Florida Department of Emergency Management, they allocated $1.275 billion to those counties and communities that receive any money.
Right.
So in our case, we're eligible to receive up to about $55.5 million.
St. Lucie County.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so, and the way it works is we have to follow their guidelines, and you have to, follow the requirements for the red tape, the requirements, and make sure that everybody that gets $1, that there's a receipt, or because it's a reimbursement based grant. Even though we received the initial 25%, about $13.8 million up front, and of that, in terms of the county has on July 7th, the county commission, they approved the CARES Act funding proposal, of which it indicates, at least 60% of the funds are going to go into the community in one form or fashion. Economic recovery, community services, which goes from individual, family, housing, nonprofits, food insecurities. I mean, we don't know what else out there lies, but also substantial portion, in this case, $4.1 million total towards economic recovery. About $1 million will go towards workforce and training development. But what's out right now that started on Monday, which took, within a matter of a month, was the St. Lucie Recover Small Business Assistance Grant Program. There's about $3 million available to eligible businesses. Obviously, the hardest hit businesses, small businesses first. We are phasing it, trying to get those businesses that didn't receive any funding, because there are some funding mechanisms, as you know, out there, of which the door's closing very soon.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, a couple of days for both the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. I think you got 2 days left. So if you're a business out there and you need that assistance, you got 2 days. I would encourage you to take Tom up on his offer to contact the SBDC, and they could probably put you in touch with one of the lenders out there to get that underway.
We've got a lender, too, for the PPP, so good point, John. We have one that's done some very good work in doing it very quickly. And, again, I want to stop you there before we get into because obviously our focus is the Small Business Grant Program, but I want to quickly just go back to something you brought up, the breakdown of those dollars. I had somebody come to me the other day, and they were so appreciative. They said, Tom, I really want to thank you for telling me about the Renters Assistance Program. They knew some folks that needed some assistance, and they actually qualified for that, and said they were just so appreciative that they had found out about the program. So that 13 point whatever million that the county got, again, you mentioned it, you're doing different things. It's health related.
Yeah,
so kind of talk about that breakdown.
Okay, so there's like $4.1 million for economic recovery, $4.1 million for social services, and then there's 20% related to public safety, public health, and the constitutional officers, and that's in terms of trying to. Nobody budgeted. Nobody last year budgeted, well, hey, we're going to have a pandemic, so we're going to need to put funds aside to go out and buy plexiglass, buy temperature monitors, bands, PPE, and to try to maintain government operations. And then there's also funds there available, 10%. Dedicated because the municipalities, our municipal partners, they also had expenses that they did not anticipate. And then we have set aside 10% for future COVID and hurricane response reserves, because if you take, and it's my understanding, if you take a shelter, it's typically about 120 square feet per person.
Right.
Well, when you add the COVID dynamic into it, it goes down to or maybe it's 60 square feet a person. When you add the COVID, I think it goes to 120 square feet.
Wow.
So it just really, we need to be, we're very fortunate with this most recent storm. But if something was to happen, we need to be ready to respond to the community's needs.
Yeah.
Especially with the special needs shelter.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly
at the Fenn Center.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, I really appreciate you kind of bringing clarity, and so I just think it's so important that people need to understand that these are great resources. The county's doing the very best they can, as quick as they can, to channel this money out to the organizations that need it, that can get it onto the streets. And again, just for what it's worth, I had that person tell me the other day they were just so thankful and appreciative of the renters.
To that point, I just want to tell. I mean, that program opened up immediately, and we've received over 2,700 applications, and they have approved over 250, and the others are being processed. And there's been over $550,000 that have been provided to residents of our community that have suffered as a result of COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, again, we had so many people either get furloughed, laid off, underemployed, right? And it's tough to pay the rent when you can't do that. So, again, I think, I'm not a big, government analyst, but I think really when you look at what Congress did with that original CARES Act, I think they did some good things there. I mean, I think somebody, some group, somebody, somewhere, led them in the right direction. I think they gave the money for the right reasons, and I think the counties are taking this very seriously about making sure the right people get the money. So anyway, great work there. So let's get into why we're here.
Okay.
Small business. Talk to us again. Just kind of start us off. Launched on Monday. Small business grant program. Kind of start us with the basic parameters of that program.
Okay. Well, I can tell you it did launch on Monday, and while the one thing that is following probably shortly, we're hopeful next week, would be the workforce and training development for both individuals and businesses that will employ.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. That's a great. Is the county partnering with Career Source?
We are.
Okay.
We are.
All
We're
right.
currently working with Brian Bauer and his
great
team.
Marcelo.
Yes, Marcelo.
Susan.
Yes.
And great team.
We're working with them because it's if we can. If somebody, let's just say maybe it's a waiter, server, whatever the case might be, and they're like, listen, I can't deal with another shutdown if we get another surge and spike. If there's this opportunity, you'll get training. I've always wanted to do this, and now there's an opportunity that's presented itself, and I can get this, and then they're going to help place me in a job, give me the experience. So they'll be providing training for individuals, whether it be one of the certification programs like maybe certified nursing assistant, certified production.
Wow.
There's a couple, as well as doing some OJT. And then in placing the individuals. So, and then if a business, regardless of their size, revenue, because on the one side, the business assistants, there's some thresholds, but this is really geared toward the individual, regardless of the size of the business. If they have a need and they can place an employee and put them to work, then we want to do that as quick as possible to help people gain that economic self-sufficiency. So as of 5 o'clock today, I checked right not too long before leaving the office. We had about 550 people since Monday. I think it was about 8:13 in the morning was the first hit that have visited the website.
This is for the workforce development.
Yeah. Oh no, we haven't rolled that one out yet. We're working on finalizing that. But for the small business assistants, apologize. There's been close to about 270 applications.
Okay, nice.
And our each grant application, as you know, the EDC, the Small Business Development Center, and others have put together a really good process. They have 3 teams that involve grant processors or reviewers to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, the documentation's there. And then there's a reviewing manager that reviews those applications and before it even proceeds up to a point of, yes, this is approved for the grant, here's the expenses, here's the receipts, here's the impact, and then it goes to the county, of which would come to me, and then I forward it on after I review it to the emergency management, because they're the ones that typically handle the FEMA type reimbursement, and these funds are coming through the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and we'll have to do reporting. And after that, if everything, we'll just say they'll have their funds. I mean, because we are asking for the direct deposit authorization, so we can put that money right in their bank to get the funds out quick as possible.
So start us off. St. Lucie Recover CARES Act Small Business Grant. Just kind of start us off with the eligibility. Who's eligible, and then we'll get into the how and the where and the when and the.
So initially, for the first 2 weeks, one of the things that we kind of structured this program to try to hit those that didn't receive any federal or any other type of assistance. So for the first phase, we'll phase or round,
right,
whatever, we'll call them interchangeable. But from August 13th to August 17th, it's focused on those businesses that have a revenue of under $1 million, 10 or fewer employees, and they were forced to close. And the other key thing is that they were a hardest hit industry, and they were deemed non-essential, and therefore they had to close, and they were not able to provide any. They weren't able to engage in their business activities. Those hardest hit industries do include hospitality, entertainment, food and beverage, retail, personal service businesses. And then again, as I mentioned, those businesses deemed non-essential and forced to close, or they had to curtail their operations. So those are the eligibility requirements in terms of the type of businesses in the first round, trying to focus on those that did not receive funding, because there are some that did get funding from other sources, and we want to make sure everybody in the community has an opportunity to access funds to give that shot in the arm to level that playing field. The grant awards, if you have up to 3 employees, you can get up to $5,000. Up to 10 employees, $7,500. That's for the phase 1 or round 1 as well as round 2. Or in round 2 and round 3, you get up to $10,000 if you have between 11 and 50 employees. For the first round, that was 2 weeks. Again, it's all subject to how many applications come in, and the question will be, do we have more applications versus the need? Because we don't have finite resources, right. But the county does anticipate in funding the additional 2 rounds. It's just at what level? Obviously, we know we're beginning to see some food insecurity issues, or some nonprofits that provide vital community services right. that need assistance. The county's already entered into an agreement with the Treasure Coast Homeless Coalition to assist those who have become homeless or those that are being impacted by COVID-19. And so there's some other things that are out there. And again, if we get a even more significant spike or surge, who knows what we may have to do from a public health standpoint. So that's why we obligated the first 25% that we have received a direct disbursement. Then after that, we're going to be able to evaluate the needs of the community. But economic recovery and social services have been a primary or a principal focus from day one. We're also cognizant that that there's so many needs out there for our community, because like you said, in my lifetime, I'm only 54, but I've never seen anything like this. No. And having gone through from Hurricane David forward.
Yep. Now let's talk about the application. You guys did a great job of you have digitized the process. I literally, of course, have done it a couple of times myself, but today, as I mentioned earlier, I literally sat with a client today and helped him go through the process. So again, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Obviously, you gotta sort of understand some basic computer operations, how to upload, grab a file out of your folder and get it uploaded. I think the biggest problem some people may have is actually digitizing their files. So again, something that we certainly will do our best to help a client with if you have trouble. I had a young lady I met with on on Tuesday, and I helped her digitize her files so she could get them uploaded. So talk a little bit about the application process itself.
So I guess the one thing that I would encourage everybody to do, and I think it's, one, educate yourself beforehand. Right. And I think that starts with by going to Recover St. Lucie, stlucie.org, no period, but at least between St. Lucie, website. And there's two boxes you're going to see there. You're going to see a red box that's going to have a hyperlink about all the grant information. And it's even going to include the application process. It's going to give you all the helpful links, the application steps, the documents that are needed. So you can begin to compile all that information in advance. So say they do call and they say, Tom, I've got everything, but I can't do this. Right. At least they have everything.
Right. So that was the call I got today.
Yes.
I've got everything. I just don't really know how to get it into the computer.
And there's another box right to the right of that, a blue box, and it's a webinar that will help a prospective applicant understand the application process and walk them through it.
Now that is cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
I will say our communications office and our IT folks, as well as the EDC and Tom and our consultants, the team was amazing because the commission approved this July 7th, and to have, we didn't buy an off the box. It would have cost us a lot more money, and we had the capacity or the capability to do it in-house. It took some time, but to do all this and roll it out in a month, because there was nothing on this side in terms of the economic recovery side like this. So I would encourage people to go to recoverstlucie.org website. I think it's an excellent resource, and that will help you in submitting a very solid and sufficient application. And there's also information there in terms of email and phone numbers, and I'll go over those.
Yeah. And I think you just hit on something else too. Is there the county is under some policies, guidelines in terms of spending these dollars?
Yeah.
You're motivated to get these dollars on the street?
We want to spend every bit of $55.5 million in our community.
Okay.
So, but we also, we've hired, we've entered into sub-recipient agreements with, the EDC. We're going to be entering one with Career Source, and then there's some others that are coming, that we anticipate. But at the end of the day, the funds are subject to recoupment if the expense is deemed ineligible. So that's, the last thing I think anybody wants to see. There's nothing more than frustrates a taxpayer than, well, you knew what the rules were and you didn't follow them, right, and now we have to pay back $5-6 million. Right. So we're trying not to be too regulatory, but we're also trying to make sure that you have the documents so when it comes time, right, we can demonstrate to FDEM, who then has to demonstrate to the feds that we can tell our story and have the documents to show that we spent this money and it benefited the community appropriately.
Now the PPE was basically for salaries and a few
payroll,
right, payroll and a few other rent, I guess. Are there any specifics of what this money has to be spent on?
Yeah, kind of again, take us into the how can they spend it, and what's a good case that a business can make to get these dollars.
Yeah, because each business is going to have to. There's an open field that says you have to basically make a statement of your COVID-19 impact, demonstrate it, and state this is how I was impacted. I couldn't open my business. I was forced to close because of the governor's executive order, but I still had to pay my lease or my mortgage. Right. I still had to pay insurance. I had to keep. I just couldn't turn off. I had freezers. I just couldn't turn off the water because there's chillers. So I had all those expenses. So they're going to provide. They're going to state that they're going to provide copies that they paid it, and because it's a reimbursement grant, and then we're going to put them through the process, verify it.
Obviously for a restaurant, a pretty simple case can be made here. They were forced to close about. Yes. The individual I helped today was a restaurant, and when we calculated when he had to close by mandate, he was closed 50 days.
Yeah, that's
50 days.
And then they stepped
closed.
it back, from the.
Right.
Remember they.
Well,
I
then
think
when he
they
was
went
able
back
to,
the 50%.
well, when he was reopened, he could only reopen at 25%.
That's right. Yes.
So not only was he closed for completely closed 50 days, he could only reopen at 25%. Now he did do some takeout, but you're talking about for some businesses that was easy to kind of retrofit immediately to takeout. Some fine dining type places that just wasn't a big option, wasn't a great option.
So for those that are looking to open and say they survived and they're their employees, and we've heard some great stories of where companies have, well, we're going to at least pay your insurance. We're going to take care of this. We're going to provide you this. And there's been some other, like in the restaurant industry, there's been some nonprofit or association groups have been providing support to some of the waiters and servers. But so say you're getting ready, you want to reopen, and you need, well, listen, I need to get plexiglass for the server. I need to get PPE. We need to get the little stickers for the floor. We need to change the way we're doing things. So in this case, this is the one thing that we are, because there's in many instances we are asking people to test to certain items and certify. But in this particular case, if you just show an invoice or a proposal of this is what you're doing to accommodate the reopening of your business, and you have not, because listen, I can't pay that $7,500. I just don't have it. I'm ready. I've got my employees are ready to come back, but I can't shell out another $7,500. We will process that, and you're going to just attest to the fact that you are going to use those funds for the purposes for which you applied, because we recognize, especially with some of these smaller mom and pops, they're just not. I mean, they've been struggling. I mean, I know. I've got a friend. I mean, I know him for a fact. I mean, he's tapped into his retirement account, and just to survive.
No doubt. Now, talk about some of the things. Let's talk about ineligible. What would who need not apply at this time?
It's the focus right now is the hardest hit industries for the remainder of this week and next week. After that, and then under 10 employees. And no more than $1 million in annual revenue. The next phase is $2 million in annual revenue, up to 25 employees, and forced to close, because it could be any, maybe, or they had to curtail their operations. And then the third round will be, it opens it up a little bit more wider, to hit those that, because we will prioritize those that received no funding. And it's my understanding the numbers that are coming in, I think it's somewhere around 30% or so that have received no funding, but the others have received funding. And we just, obviously the hurricane didn't help, or tropical storm didn't help as we're putting our messaging out.
Right.
It got.
Yeah, it came right at the same time.
So that didn't help at all.
Right.
But so things that would not be, and it's really important to know. I mean, I mentioned insurance is another one. I had to cover insurance on my property while I was, even though I wasn't getting any, I had no money come in, but I had expenses going out. But the one thing that cannot be, because it is a reimbursement, we cannot, and we cannot cover revenue loss. Your only vehicle for that, and you have. After today, you have 2 days, is the economic injury disaster loan. That's the only vehicle I know that is available where you can use those proceeds of that loan in their very favorable terms to cover some of your losses. And and while we're talking about loans, one of the other things that the county did, and it didn't use CARES funding, the county is participating. EDA through CARES is coming up with a revolving loan fund, and the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, South Florida Regional Planning Council runs a very successful revolving loan fund, and they're going to partner with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council to capitalize a $1 million revolving loan fund that will go on beyond. It's not, matter of fact, we use general fund dollars, didn't use any CARES funding. You can't do that, but you had a 20% match. And kudos to the county administrator and to the county commission for making that decision, because I think that'll be a significant benefit and well beyond this event. But capitalizing a revolving loan fund just adds another tool to the toolkit. And economic development practitioners like to say we need more tools in the toolkit. So that's something that the county also did as well.
So in a nutshell, basically, here's what we've got. In St. Lucie County, if you've got 10 or less employees, and correct me if I'm wrong now, John, I don't want to cause any confusion, but don't feel like you're out if you've got 11 or 12, because some of your people may be part-time.
That's correct. Good point.
Yeah, so you can do some math.
Yes.
So just because you have 12 doesn't mean you're out of the game. If some of those are part-time people, then there's just some simple math that can be done, and with your part-time people, you may fall under 10 full-timers, right,
That's correct.
John?
Yep,
okay.
full-time equivalent.
And
That's
you
correct.
had to have been shut down, right?
Well, or your operations had to be curtailed.
Right.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know, and you use, yes.
Okay, so, let's see. So you definitely have to be under $1 million in revenue, which is that's
just the first 2 weeks.
right. That's simple. That's just on your tax return. It's right there. It's what did you take in revenue. So are you under $1 million in revenues? The employees is not a, if you got over 10, you can do the formula there and work that out.
I would like to say, and
Go ahead.
Because it wouldn't bode well, but your business has to be physically located in St.
Right,
Lucie County. It wouldn't
Right.
go over well.
You got to be located in St. Lucie County. You have to be a for-profit business. You have to be, and you have to have a business location. No home-based businesses at this point.
At this point, as you know, again, it's not an infinite resource. It's and so we, unfortunately, many times when you have a limited resource, you have to allocate it. So we will evaluate it depending on the level of applications and depending on the demonstrated need. I mean, if we're seeing a slew of home-based, we just need to make some decisions, and look at that. And we have committed to doing that. So.
Okay. So some very basic parameters. Again, the way I would describe the application process, it's not overly complicated, yes, but if you're applying for a $7,500 this is not a loan, this is a grant. You don't have to pay the $75,000 or the $5,000 back. There is a break, right?
That is a good point. There's no repayment on this.
Right.
And to determine your eligibility, there's 15 questions you answer when you go in, and if you answer those questions appropriately, then you're moving on to the next step.
Right.
There will be some verification documentation to it, but generally speaking, you're only answering 15 questions.
Right.
Now, what if you don't have any employees?
Well, a sole proprietor, that would you would be eligible.
Okay.
Right. Now, and again, there is a break here. I think it's, and again, John, 3 or less, you can apply up to 5,000. 3, 4 or more, I guess, you're
Up to 10
4 to 10, $7,500. So there is, and basic math is, you've got to demonstrate expenses for that amount of money. So if you demonstrate expenses of only $3,500, then that's really all you can apply for, right?
That's correct.
So if you're applying for the $5,000 grant, you need to make sure that you dig down in those financials and those P&Ls and income statement, and because look, $5,000 is not hard to find in any small business. By the time you've paid your monthly insurance, your some payroll cost, basic expenses,
utilities,
Comcast, utilities, phone bill, vehicle expense, that's not a lot of money. Same thing with the $7,500. You've got to basically show that you spend that kind of money during a specific time period, correct?
Yes, and that's why I think, going to the website and you look at the website, once you click the red box about grant assistance, on the right-hand side, it talks about every process, so it really educates you. I would encourage you to watch the webinar, But even just looking at those boxes and the helpful links, we've tried to, and I think they've done a phenomenal job. So if you're like, well, was my business, was it deemed essential or non-essential? Right. We have a link there to the governor's executive order.
Yeah, no, you've done a great job with the links in that application.
I think the team has. There's no doubt. This has been a team effort. It's been a collaborative effort between the EDC, the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, the chambers, provided input. Our municipal partners have provided input, and even the St. Lucie, economic development team. This has really been just a phenomenal collaborative effort, because I think at the end of the day, we all realize this virus, it's worse than a hurricane, but it doesn't recognize or care about jurisdictional boundaries. No. So that's the other thing. This is a county-wide program. Right. If you live in have a business in Port St. Lucie, or in Fort Pierce, or in an unincorporated county, wherever, it's a county-wide program.
Nice, good point. And I want to bring something else up too. I certainly by no means don't want to encourage people to move quickly. But I also want you to know, as John pointed out, there's roughly 250, and applications are coming in as we're talking here on the radio tonight. But we're not in a panic situation right now over this grant. What I would encourage small business owners to do is go as quickly as you can to the website, review it. Let's not dilly-dally. But you don't have to be in a mad rush tonight to feel like you've got to get this thing turned in tonight. Take your time, get the documentation ready, organized, and ready to go. Because if you have that all ready in front of you, basically going through the application literally didn't take us longer than maybe 30 minutes today with that client.
Yeah. Good advice.
But I'm not telling you to put it off. But I'm just telling you, there's no reason to be in a mad rush today. Let's get your paperwork together. To John's point, look at the video on the recoverstlucie.org site, and then be ready to fill that application out. You can hit a button on the application that says "Save and Resume" later. So if you do run into a problem or got to step away, it saves the work you've done. But I would encourage you to let's move fairly quickly on this application. But you don't feel like you got to work all through the night tonight.
We want to get the money out into the community. The money's there right now. You got time. Take the time, as Tom's is suggesting. Review the website, watch webinar, and then get your stuff together.
And do it right.
Yes.
Well, again,
and make it easier on everybody, on you.
Yeah.
We've
reviewed some applications, and for the most part, the ones that I've sat through on the review were pretty ready. They were pretty ready to go. They were complete. They were robust. They had the right paperwork. There are a couple that forgot a few pieces, and my simple advice is if we get to an application that's missing something, that's going to slow the process down for us, for the county, and for you, the applicant. So the advice is be ready, have your stuff ready, read it first, and get it uploaded. John, hang with us real quick, because I just want to mention, I want to take just a minute to mention, sort of our issue, we didn't invite him soon enough, but hopefully we'll have someone from Martin County on with us next week. But Martin County has also launched, and I want to make sure that I mention that. The Martin County program, similar to the county program, there's all kinds of, there's an eligibility list, but you can go to the Martin County website, and up at the top, just like John's, just like at St. Lucie, Recover St. Lucie, there's a banner. You can click on it. There's all kinds of it's about 2 pages of eligibility, eligibility questions, eligible businesses, who can apply, eligible uses for the award. So I do want to absolutely make sure that we promote, because we run on WSTU. This show is a big part of the Martin County market. So I want to make sure that our Martin County listeners also are aware that Martin County has the same type of program, and it also launched on Monday, I believe. So both counties, St. Lucie and Martin, are launched. Indian Rivers is underway. Indian Rivers very narrowly focused on hospitality industries in Indian River County, but Martin and St. Lucie are kind of a little more open to all kinds of businesses. So again, take the time to go to the Martin County website and investigate that too. And we'll have somebody just like we had John tonight. Hopefully have them on next week to kind of delve into the details with Martin County's grant program. So with that, again, John, just kind of remind us real quickly, where does someone go to find that application, and you know, any last minute advice for those looking to apply?
Again, recoverystlucie.org. It's even if you go to the county's main page, you can find the recovery page, but recoverstlucie.org. There's the webinar there. If you need contact information, Tom mentioned earlier the SBDC and the Virtual Business Recovery Center, the 772-336-6285. If you're somebody out there that's an individual, or you know somebody that's an individual or a household that needs assistance, you can also go to the recoverstlucie.org and look for funding for individuals, and it'll go over all the programs for rental payment and all of the other things. I'd be more than glad. I think you'd be best to reach out to them. But if you need to, you can always get in touch with me. Oh, wow. But it's TITKANICHJ at stlucie.org. Okay. And if I don't have the answer, I'll certainly work to put you in touch with the right person. Okay.
And again, just in closing too, I want to really quickly acknowledge all the people that we're working with across the counties. Indian River County Chamber of Commerce and Helene Castletine and the Economic Development Group, Megan Smith and the Okeechobee Economic Development Corporation, in St. Lucie, Pete Tesh and his team at the St. Lucie EDC, and of course down in Martin County, Joan Goodrich and her team at the BDB, and they've got a whole website set up too for business recovery assistance called the MC Biz Hub. So again, all kinds of information, all kinds of assistance around the community. We've got the Mobile Assistance Center that we are, for the next 3 weeks, every day it's in a different county. Mondays Martin County, Tuesdays St. Lucie County, Wednesday is Indian River, Wednesday is City of Port St. Lucie, Thursday is Indian River County, and Friday, tomorrow, we are in Okeechobee County. So again, 336-6285, and that gets you to us, and we will get you where you need to be. So John, thank you so much for all you're doing.
I appreciate what you're doing.
And we will, we're out there in the streets trying to make sure everybody gets their fair share of this grant money.
Thank you.
Yep.
You've been listening to Small Biz Florida on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, WSTU, Stewart, Martin County's Heritage Station. Both stations worldwide on TuneIn.